Anthems of War by Sentient Robot and Ryan Dunphy in particular. This is a fantasy skirmish miniature war game produced by an independent publisher that approached me and said, hey, would you be interested in making a couple of videos on my new book? And I said, let me take a look at anthemsofwar.com. And I liked what I saw. I said, yeah, send me the PDF. I'll do a video or two. They did one better. Send me the hard copy here gratis just to kind of get the obligatory warning out of the way. Ryan did something nice for me. I'm less inclined to slag off on his work than I would be. A little bit of bias maybe there. Now, also I'm biased because I prefer the independent publishers. Here in the House of Wargaming, we're not real big on the big miniature. You know, B-Dubs told me that I wouldn't be missed. Steve Jackson Games told me to GTFO. And listen, if you don't want me giving you any of my money, just tell me. I'm a good guy. I'm perfectly willing to not give you my money. Ryan wants your money, and in order to separate you from your money, he made this really good-looking book. I mean, for an independent book, this is really, it's really good-looking, right? A lot of collection, a lot of pictures of his collection, and you know, as an old guy, we'll go through some of the basic stuff. As an old guy, the text is very readable. He didn't like over-design it with lots of like texture in the background, like most of the major publishers do these days. Very annoying for those of us whose eyesight is going south. It's $45. For the hard copy, $15 for the PDF. It does just enough new and unusual things with just enough old and familiar that I think it's really worth talking about. And what we're going to do is, this is not a review. I haven't played it yet. I don't believe in doing reviews until after you've played the game a couple of times, but it is an introduction. I don't want to do just a straight flip through, but I want to give you some idea of whether or not you would like Anthems of War. It just went live like this week. I think October 11th is when it finally, when Ryan hit the publish button. And I think you might be interested in this. It's about 120 pages for $45. And as I said, it's a gorgeous looking book, really good layout, clean reading. The organization is a little weird. And the organization is a little weird because the game is a little off. It does that trick where it says, look, here's the basics of the game, kind of easing you into the water, right? We're just dipping our toes in. And then he goes through a rundown of the basic order of operations, and then he gets into the detailed technical stuff. So kind of a three-step process. And I think you'll appreciate why as we go through what it takes to play Anthems of War. Now, right out of the gate, we should point out, this is a hybrid. You've got 5 stats, right, plus point cost, and then a couple of traits, and your equipment has a couple of traits as well. It's that kind of game. You're looking at about 5 figures per team, at least in the basic game. I think you probably go up to like 20, depending on how complicated they are. But it includes this helpful diagram. You move from point to point, head to head, front to front, back to back, whatever. But you measure ranges from edge to edge. Hey, that's good to know, right? The distance from a figure should be from the edge. This is basic miniature wargame stuff, but it's really helpful to have a clear, concise diagram that tells you exactly how distances work. Within 2 inches means within 2 inches of the base of the figure, right? Good to know. Very helpful. We like that. And this is a great example of how clean and concise most of these rules are. I have a few complaints. We'll get to those. I am inclined to say nice things about Anthems of War because the guy gave me like, $45 of free product. I have my biases. I'm trying to get them out of the way up front here so you can judge for yourself. Let's talk about how the game works. So the 2 concepts that you really need to understand are the concept of orders and the action reaction activation system. They intersect in some unusual ways. You are going to have Team A and Team B, and let's go ahead and drop down. Here is a bow dude for Team A and Team B, and then we'll drop down a sword and a spear dude in this case. Right, so each figure is issued a single order, and you can use whatever chips you want. Your regular units, the orders can be used for anyone. If you have something like a ravenous beast or a wild dog, then they will be issued a different kind of order. It is called an instinct. And in that case, that order can only be used to activate that particular figure. So your untrained troops, your wild beasts, will be able to activate every turn, but they can't help out their friends with the activation. Kind of an interesting dichotomy between figures and how they operate. So let's talk about what happens on your turn. We'll say that these guys have the initiative, so they're going to take the first action. And as you can see, we've got 2 actions. Now, we can spend both actions on one guy, and leave the other one standing there doing nothing. You know, if you had 5 guys, you could put all 5 orders on the same guy and leave your other 4 guys back. That may be valid in some cases, but you're likely to have one guy who's way off on his own and is extremely vulnerable. So you may not want to do that, but you also want to perhaps save a few of these orders. And in fact, to make this little example that we're running through a little more illustrative, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there's 3 other guys that are outside, they're off camera, all right? But they're lending their order ability. So these guys have won the initiative, and you can issue an order, and your order is kind of a quirky little system where you kind of have 2 actions, sort of, but not really, because you can take a move action. Well, let's make it easy, right? So you can attack. That's an action. You can make a long action, which is to use your entire turn to do one thing. If you use your entire turn, if this guy, we issue him an order. We say, hey, you're going to use your long action to fire an aimed shot. You can extend the range of your fire, or you can negate penalties for cover, or it's like basically +2, right? Pretty standard, but all you're doing is aiming. Now, when movement factors in, things get a little more complicated because you have to issue your move order first. You can't fire a bow and then move. You issue your move order, and we take off one of our order tokens. And then you begin to close the gap. Let's use our sword guy there, okay? So then you begin to close the gap, and your opponent now has an option to say, whoop, I'm going to interrupt you. As soon as you appear in the alley, I'm going to use my order to react to you by firing my arrow. Now, that is a reaction. You're firing at, if my guy is running, there may be a penalty involved. But the point is, the reason we declare our action first, I'm going to move from here to here, is that if I'm doing a long action, I can move my move and a half, and that's the key. If you use your entire turn to move, you have a move stat, which is generally going to be about 4 inches. Here, we'll take a look at one of these army lists. And we'll take a look at what these stats are. So move is going to be 4 inches for all of the Mountain Home guys. The Kingdom of Man, everybody's moving 4. You've got physique, dexterity, constitution is hit points, and mind is basically in use for magic. See? Hedge Wizard has 2 mind points. Your War Wizard has 4 mind points. All right, so physique is basically melee. Dexterity is dodging and arrows. No big surprises there. If you use your full action to move, you can move a total of 6 inches. Whoop, that's my full action. And my boy here can use his reaction to shoot you anywhere. If I want to move and then do something else, so for example, I say, well, I'm going to move to here. I declare that because I can use my second action to dodge. And that's where we have to start talking about the activation system. So in our little example here, our sword guy ran up to arrow guy. And arrow guy took a shot at him. Now my sword guy is going to use his second action to dodge. It is a D20 system with a target number of 12. I am trying to dodge this arrow being fired at me. And at the same time, we're rolling to see if the arrow is a successful strike or not. You have to declare both of those. I'm firing an arrow. Well, I'm reacting by dodging. So we can. Now, this is where I'm not entirely sure what the order of operations is. In the rule book, it says, well, roll them both at the same time. This is going to be for our arrow guy. This is going to be for our dodge guy. And on a 12 or better, so you add, in the case of shooting, you add your dexterity. It's got a dexterity of 3. That means we got a target number of 9 up as a hit. He's going to try to dodge. He's got a dexterity of 1. He is only going to dodge on an 11 up. So we have kind of an opposed roll. But if this one is successful, it doesn't matter if this one is successful or not. If you successfully dodge the arrow, then it doesn't matter whether the arrow strikes home. So we may have to play around a little bit with the order for that kind of thing. In the same way that we play around with, well, if I have a +3 because of my dexterity, does that mean that I roll the die and add 3 and I'm looking for 12? Or do I subtract 12 from the target number and I'm looking for 9? 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's just how does it make the most sense in your brain, right? All right, so let's suppose that our guy successfully dodges. Now, on a dodge, you cannot complete your move forward. Instead, his second action is going to be to dodge away from the shooter 2 inches, or if we had some little bit of cover over there, you could jump into cover. That's what dodge is used for. Now, it is still the active player's turn, so we could spend another order to move and make a basic attack. Now we're in the case where we have a melee. And weapons have two stats, speed and strength. And those come into play because, remember, physique is used for melee. His sword has a speed of 2, which means you get to roll 2d20. He gets to make 2 attacks. Well, our guy can eat those attacks, or he can say, you know what, I'm going to use a block action. So we've used 2 actions for this guy, and he says, well, I want to react by trying to block that attack. Our weapon with a speed of 2 allows us to roll twice. We add the wielder's physique. In this case, our swordman has a physique of 3. That's fairly standard. And for every 9 that we get, well, he missed on both of them. But our block is declared before the attack is made. So we still have to roll the block. If the block is successful, there is a chance. Now, it was unsuccessful, doesn't matter. But if you roll a natural 20 on your block, then you block all of the hits. So we got, oh, look at that, we got 2 hits. That was a really good roll. Nope, we got a block. It blocks all of them. We don't have to go on to the damage portion. If we get a natural 20 here, that can cancel out this natural 20, I think. I got to double check that. We'll look at that. All right, we zoomed in a little closer so you can see our miniatures a little better. Let's suppose that we have our 2 successful hits and our elf failed to dodge. Now, the way dodging works, you have a toughness number of 9. And the equation goes like this. Take the strength of the weapon. In this case, a sword is a strength of 5. Add that to the toughness number. The toughness number is now 14. Our elf has a dexterity of 3 and light armor of 1. Subtract the 4. In other words, our toughness number, because we have a strength of 5 versus a total defense of 4, our toughness number goes from 9 to 10. The active player, the player that's trying to avoid the damage, rolls a d20 and on a 16 is able to avoid the damage. But remember, we hit twice, so we have to roll that 2 times. And look at that, our second result is a 6, which means we took 1 hit point of damage. A constitution of 1 means this guy goes down. And I misspoke. You can't dodge out of combat. If you are engaged in melee combat and you want to get out of combat, you have to invoke a disengage action. Whoop, we're running out of actions here. Our archer doesn't want any of that. He invokes the disengage. He can move half his movement away, except, whoop, wait a minute. Remember, our swordman can issue a melee attack as a reaction to that action. Now, because the guy he is attacking is moving away, our sword guy is going to be able to, he is going to subtract 2 from his attack. He's got the sword. His total toughness number, we're looking for 12, minus his physique of 3, means that he needs a 9 or better. He gets 2 attacks. Oh, but he needs an 11 or better because of the active disengage. He gets a 20 and a 17, which means instead of disengaging, a critical hit on melee knocks the figure prone. Ruh-roh. And not only that, but now we have to make 2 saves against our armor. Now, these guys have the same profile, so the 19 is a success, and the 20 is also a success. In fact, the 20 would have blocked out both of those. Oh, I'm sorry. You only get to make 1 armor check. Oh, it's 1 armor check per. No, I'm wrong. It's 1 armor check per hit. So that's kind of the basics of it. I guess the other 3 guys on each of these teams is more of a spectator than a participant. So you can see how the order activation system acts as a depletable resource that forces you to prioritize the things you really want to have happen in any given turn. You can see how that action and reaction system creates for a very dynamic game. It is even more dynamic than I have presented to you so far because there are rules for pushbacks. If you are engaged in melee and you take a slight penalty, then you can push your opponent back, which may be important because remember, you're going to be attacking each other. But if you're the active player and you push this character back, this figure back, you now have the option of spending an order to free move away. Oh, well, he may decide to, to react somehow. I don't think you can move as a reaction. That is kind of right and kind of wrong. You can, if you're facing, let's suppose our elf sword guy is facing that way. He just killed one of his opponents. And then our human warrior, look, let me see if I can zoom in here. This is a girl figure. Look, it's got, representation matters, so you got to have boobs on the table. Oh, Ryan Dunphy, do you know who you asked for a review from? Do you know what you're getting yourself into? So our female champion here decides that she's going to go stab this guy in the back. Oh, man, it's like I'm dating all over again. And when she moves up, he can't run away, but he can exercise the option to extend an order to turn to face. If he does not have any orders left, he's going to get chopped from behind it, and there's going to be penalties involved. If we spend an order, he can turn to face, and look at that. Now he doesn't have to worry about getting backstabbed. So there is a little bit of give and take, a little bit of push and pull. Now, in a lot of games, Song of Blades and Heroes, I'm looking at you. When we get into melee, we're just done. Well, I shouldn't say Song of Blades and Heroes. In a lot of games, it's just we take turns swinging at each other, right? Basic Dungeons and Dragons. I roll and hit, you roll and hit, I roll and miss, you roll and miss. In Song of Blades and Heroes, there are a couple of different states of play. This guy can be fine. He can be pushed back on a certain result. He can be knocked prone on a certain result, which we've seen happens with a nat 20. Or he can be killed, and that's pretty much it. Now, in the case of Anthems of War, available at anthemsofwar.com, you have a number of different options where you can do like a shield bash, which pushes the guy back. You can do what is called a sidestep. If you are getting double teamed, you can use a full order to do an attack and sidestep. I'm going to attack this guy, and I'm going to sidestep over here after the attack. Well, that means now he can't shoot because we're locked in melee. Now, what that means is that you have this little bit of dynamic kind of dancing around each other, and no melee is going to be just a static standing in the center of the ring, swinging at each other like a couple of heavyweight boxers. You're trying to push the guy over the cliff or over the edge of the building. There's all kinds of interesting possibilities that open up with this rule set. So that's pretty good for the basic rule set. And in my next video, we're going to play just that. We're going to play 5-on-5, 3 sword guys, 2 bow guys against a perfectly matched force. But for today, since we're not playing the game, we're just doing an introduction. Let's take a look at a couple more features. We are going to start with a little bit of a demerit. I want to read this example to you, and I want to explain why pronouns are not your friend. Laura and Sam's characters, this is great, right? Because we have 2 players, a girl, okay, and a guy. And so that'll make it easy as we go through this paragraph. And this is one of my pet bugaboos. I never miss an opportunity to point out that you got to be using the right pronouns to make this work. And plural pronouns are definitely not your friend. They face off against each other. Laura's character attacks with their two-handed, they share a two-handed greatsword, and Sam's character reacts by attacking with their faster but weaker, Sam knows their longsword. Whose longsword? It gets very confusing because they keep talking about they, and if Sam did not, it's very, if it would just say, Laura's character attacks with her greatsword, Sam with his weaker longsword. Now, her greatsword, his longsword, so much easier. Guys, if you're writing rule sets, just embrace, talking like a normal human being. Don't talk like a mental patient. It's a little confusing because later on in the same chapter, look at this, and then it gets very confusing, right? Laura moves her knight. Thank you. I know whose knight that is. John moves his bandit berserker. And when we get down here, John moves his bandit. He moves the bandit cutthroat inside her knight's. It just, I'm painting a mental picture of Laura and Sam sitting down to play a miniature war game. And it's so much easier with he and her use those. It's probably better if you just use all he's and hims because, I've seen the stats. I knew who was watching my channel. Sam. Sorry if you didn't know what you were getting yourself into. A little bit of a bugaboo for mine. One thing that I think this is missing is it could use a bestiary. It does have some rules for creating your own profiles and your own, traits. Right, flying. Here's the stat cost and whatnot. I don't want to show you too much for copyright reasons. I want you to buy the book, not pause and print screen caps from this video. He does have army lists, so you don't have to point cost all that out. Here's our dwarves, right? Boar riders, a dwarven prince. Do we have, Fortress Guard, Huskarl, Scholar. What else we got here? Legions of the Dead, the Orcish clams. Clams? What am I reading? Oh, clans. They look like clams up there. That's an N. Good topography. And again, we're showing you some great kind of generic fantasy art. Lizard men. Hey, look, it's my government. And then, Sam, I'm sorry, man, but what are you going to do? Mercenary army, that's kind of fun. And of course, it's scale. Scale doesn't matter. I'm using 15 millimeter. You could use 28 millimeter. It's got a really nifty little magic system. bardic magic that I'm not quite ready for yet. Like I said, this game is new enough to me that I want to get at least a game under my belt without all of the bells and whistles. It does have little bit of light. Hey, here's his copyright Sentient Robot. This is his campaign world, but you don't have to worry about that. You can do whatever you want, right? Thaumaturgy. Oh, I like that. Wild magic. Looking good. Scenarios. How many scenarios does it have? I don't know. I'm not even going to count it. I'm just going to show you that it's got some, objective-based scenarios, attack and defend, fortified assault. Look at that. It's kind of an interesting... You don't see very many deployment zones that look like that, do you? With some maps here that kind of really evocative, right? And again, great miniatures. I really want to sit down and play a game with Sam Dunphy if he's not too mad at me for posting an overwhelmingly positive view of his his game that would get banned from a host of social media sites. Campaigns, just a couple of, I think the campaigns are mostly narrative based, but I could be wrong. And then again, look at that. And then the one last thing we want to end with, and this is kind of a quirky one, but I think it's worthwhile. Oh, and this is, I like this, right? So let's look at the credits here real quick. So Ryan Dunphy is the creator. And then he did photography. And Neil from Real Terrain Hobbies. Oh, these might be Neil's. Well, whoever did them, they're great. And then is that a bug? Is that an owl? No, it's just a regular bear. Oh, good. I was almost triggered there for a minute. Not an owl bear. Whew! Wipe the sweat from my brow. So let's look at the book art. We've got, who's doing the art? Ryan Dunphy, right? And then who's the proofreader? Oh, Brendan's a family man. That's what we like to see. We love it. And then Brendan is also helping out with a little bit of the copying. We like that. So let's take a look. And then he look at this. Look at a solid bro move here, right? Hey, here's where to buy 15 millimeter miniatures. Splintered Light, got him. Coruscant, got him. Alternative, got him. North Star makes 15 millimeter. Get out of town. I need some Battle Valor and I need some Alpartha. But that's great. 28, 32 millimeter. There you go. Terrain. I don't have any from any of these companies, but I should probably look them out. Or look them up. Look out for them. See what they got. And then let's look at inspiration because, I'm a big Appendix N guy. So let's see what Ryan is really into. No. Well, okay, I'll give you a pass on that one. No. Wait. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Wait, what's Below Deck? Is that Star Trek cartoon? Albums? That's the perfect match. We all know Man of War. I mean, this is fun. This is good stuff. I got to give him big ups on the movies. I mean, there isn't a stinker in the... Stardust is a little weird. But, I mean, the rest of these... Total boss Chad moves. So I'm showing you this specifically because if you're into 13th Warrior, Highlander, the Lord of the Rings, maybe not so much Hobbit. Come on, we know. Princess Bride. If you're into that vibe, I think you're really gonna get a kick out of this. If you're into music, I don't know any of these. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a music guy, but I am a miniature wargaming guy. And even just from reading it, I think this has been a lot of fun to read. I'm looking forward to getting it on the table. Look for those videos coming up in a few weeks. And again, that is Anthems of War. Support your local or not so local independent miniature war game manufacturer, Sentient Robots, Handcrafts and Games, anthemsofwar.com. I'm giving it a conditional thumbs. I'm giving it a conditional thumbs up until I play it, but I'm giving it you should definitely look into this and you should definitely get a copy yourself to read through and see if it's something you'd like to play. I'm not going to do a how to play. In the next video, we're just going to dive right in. Hey, thanks for playing along. I'm praying for you.